I said, you know I love you more, Weezy. She said, I don't know. She just
What should have been a beautiful and uplifting evening at Perfecting Church in Detroit slowly transformed into a moment that no one in attendance, or watching online later, could have predicted. The night began with joy in every corner of the sanctuary, the kind of joy that fills a room long before the first song even starts. The choir, known for its soaring harmonies and heartfelt performances, lifted powerful worship songs that echoed off the walls. People clapped, sang along, and shared warm smiles that spoke of community and hope. Bishop Marvin Winans, a widely respected gospel figure whose name carries decades of music and ministry, entered the room with the same energy and expectancy as the congregation. For months, the church had been raising funds for their ongoing building project, a vision that members had faithfully supported year after year. And tonight was meant to be one of the milestone moments along that journey. Everything felt aligned: the lights, the music, the testimonies, and the collective willingness of the congregation to give from their hearts. No one in that sanctuary could have imagined how dramatically the tone of the evening would shift, or how the ripple effects would stretch far beyond the church walls in the days that followed. The moment, the atmosphere shifted. As the ushers walked down the aisles collecting envelopes and donations, the atmosphere remained warm and full of expectation. People shared testimonies of blessings and personal breakthroughs, encouraging one another with stories of how faith had carried them through difficult seasons. For many, giving wasn't just an act. It was a moment of gratitude, sacrifice, and renewed hope. But everything changed the instant the totals were read aloud. Observers say Bishop Winans' expression shifted in a way that caught people's attention. Subtle at first, then unmistakably more serious. In an unexpected turn, he addressed one donation specifically, mentioning the amount and the giver by name. The tone in his voice sounded pointed, and what he intended as a message about sacrifice and commitment landed in the room with much more weight than expected. The sanctuary fell into an uncomfortable stillness, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. People exchanged uncertain glances, not because they understood everything happening, but because something about the atmosphere had undeniably changed. What had been a joyful, high-spirited evening suddenly felt fragile, as though one moment had altered the emotional temperature of the entire room. When a single clip went viral, a few attendees had recorded parts of the service on their phones, something common in nearly every church with a lively atmosphere. One of those brief clips, capturing the moment when Bishop Winans addressed the donation, found its way onto social media within hours. At first it was shared quietly among small circles, but soon the video spread with incredible speed, traveling far beyond Detroit and landing in the feeds of thousands across the country. People reacted instantly, expressing shock, sadness, confusion, and disappointment. Some said they had never seen anything like it in a church service before. Others felt deeply uncomfortable watching someone's giving become a public talking point. But there was also a strong group of defenders who insisted that the moment had been misunderstood, that a short clip could never capture the full context, tone, or pastor-congregation relationship. As the video continued to spread across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and commentary pages, it triggered conversations in places where people had never even heard of the church before. The internet did what it always does. It magnified the moment, multiplied opinions, and transformed a brief exchange into a national conversation about church culture, giving, leadership, and expectations. A history that returned to the surface. As conversations continued online, people began revisiting the history of the church's building project, a journey spanning years, marked by hope, patience, and multiple fundraising efforts. Supporters had always believed in the vision, trusting that the new facility would one day stand as a place of worship, community, and outreach. But because the project had been ongoing for so long, the resurfacing of older discussions brought new attention to long-standing questions. Some saw the renewed discussion as an opportunity for greater clarity and unity. Others viewed it as a reminder of how easily trust can become fragile when people feel uncertain. Even though no wrongdoing was suggested, the moment reignited the desire many people had for updates, transparency, and reassurance about the dream they had faithfully invested in over time. A community divided, yet still connected. In the days that followed, the congregation found itself navigating a delicate balance between loyalty, honesty, frustration, and compassion. Members who had once worshipped side by side discovered that they had very different interpretations of the moment, and those interpretations sometimes put them at odds. Some felt strongly that the bishop deserved grace, understanding, and patience, especially after decades of service. Others felt equally strongly that the moment called for reflection, acknowledgement, and deeper communication. Despite the tension, one thing remained clear. The people cared about their church. They cared about their bishop. And they cared about the spiritual environment they had built together over the years. The division wasn't rooted in hatred. It was rooted in hurt, disappointment, and the deep desire for their place of worship to reflect the love and safety they cherished. When silence speaks louder than words. For several days, Bishop Winans did not publicly respond to the viral clip. Some viewed his silence as wisdom, believing he was taking time to pray, reflect, and avoid making a rushed statement. Others interpreted the silence differently, feeling it left too much room for speculation and hurt. When he eventually addressed the situation briefly during a sermon, his message focused on context, misunderstanding, and how easily moments can be twisted when removed from their original setting. Some in the congregation clapped with relief, grateful just to hear him speak on it. Others remained quiet, waiting for something more direct, a gesture of empathy, acknowledgement, or apology that never came. The moment reopened the emotional wound for some, while bringing comfort to others. What he said mattered, but what he didn't say mattered just as much. The call for healing. As the conversations continued both online and inside the church, a growing number of members began expressing a desire for something deeper than explanations. They wanted healing. They wanted a space for open conversation. They wanted unity restored in a church that had always prided itself on being a family. Church leaders began planning meetings focused on restoration, listening, and rebuilding trust. These gatherings became a place for members to express their feelings, ask questions, and remember why they had joined Perfecting Church in the first place. Not everyone attended. Some still needed time and distance, but those who did found the meetings meaningful. They reminded each other that imperfections do not undo community, and that healing takes time, honesty, and willingness from everyone involved. A lesson larger than one moment. In the end, the story became much bigger than one comment, one service, or even one church. It became a reflection of something many people across the country have experienced in their own spiritual journeys: the fragile balance between giving and grace, leadership and humility, vision and transparency. The conversations sparked by the moment encouraged believers to examine why they give, how they give, and what they hope their contributions support. Pastors, church leaders, and members everywhere began using the situation as an opportunity for growth, reflection, and change. And while Perfecting Church continued moving forward with cautious hope, many understood that rebuilding trust would require consistent communication, tenderness, and patience in the months ahead. No matter where people stood in the conversation, one truth rose above the rest. Giving is most meaningful when it flows from the heart, and leadership is strongest when guided by grace. In the quiet that followed the storm, the church and those watching from afar were reminded that healing is possible, restoration is possible, and respect is possible when humility leads the way.